Today, we're going to be talking about something related to selling. While I'm talking primarily from the viewpoint of selling real estate, it's applicable in every facet of sales. So if you're a salesman, salespeople gather around. We're going to talk about how do you manage objection. For some of you who are just encountering our video for the first time, you need to go and watch our video on MANT framework, because there are two ways to manage objection. You can manage objection before they arise, or you can manage it during the course of the conversation. MANT framework actually deals with how do you manage objection even before they arise. You already put into consideration the money, authority, the need, and the time frame that they have. But today, we're going to primarily deal with how do you manage objections that arise in the course of the conversation. And it's actually a major skill if you're going to be successful as a salesperson. Hi, my name is Olufemi Sheyi. I'm a real estate salesman. I buy, build, and sell real estate. Today, we're going to be talking about something related to selling. While I'm talking primarily from the viewpoint of selling real estate, it's applicable in every facet of sales. So if you're a salesman, popularly, the way it's popularly said, salespeople gather around. We're going to talk about how do you manage objection. For some of you who are just encountering our video for the first time, you need to go and watch our video on MANT framework, because there are two ways to manage objection. You can manage objection before they arise, or you can manage it during the course of the conversation. So, the MANT framework actually deals with how do you manage objection even before they arise. You already put into consideration the money, authority, the need, and the time frame that they have. But today, we're going to primarily deal with how do you manage objections that arise in the course of the conversation. And it's actually a major skill if you're going to be successful as a salesperson, because once your prospect actually raises an objection and you're not able to manage properly, you're on the way to losing that particular transaction. But also, I see a lot of sales consultants who struggle too hard. They try so much to handle objection, it becomes like a fight. And we're going to be using the example of Aikido. Aikido is Aikido, is a martial art that primarily preaches not fighting as the way to win. Primarily, that's what it does. So what the Aikido primarily teaches is that it's better to diffuse a situation. That is a big win, not when you go in aggressively, combatively, and win. That's number one. The second principle that is relevant to what we're going to discuss is you use the other person's energy to win. So somebody is coming towards you and wants to punch you. Normally, the natural response is to resist, and then you resist. That collision itself will cause damage for the person that is punching and for the person that is resisting. So instead of resisting, why don't you hold the hand and lead the person in the direction of the force of the body, and then you can actually either flip over the person or use his or her own force to actually manage or control the opponent. So that's basically what is built around. So for some of you might just want to check those core principles of Aikido as a martial art. So what are the lessons that we can learn from that martial art as a principle? 4 basic principles of Aikido that we're going to apply when you're managing objection. Number 1, it is a conversation, not a fight. A lot of people, when a client or a prospect comes up with an objection, our goal is just to hammer the objection, to deal with the objection until the entire thing is pulverized. We need to understand that objection management and the entire concept of prospecting is a conversation. What is the goal of a conversation? You want to understand the person and you want to be understood by that person. So you don't need to go all out to win. There's no winner. There is only understanding that is created. And what I've seen in transactions, particularly real estate transactions where they are big ticket, what I've observed over time is the person that asks the most questions that win. The person that seeks to understand more is the person that wins. And come to think of it, if you're having a conversation with someone and the person is just trying to understand, try to allow you to explain yourself, you feel more comfortable with that person because you know that this person has heard me a bit better than the person that is always trying to interject as to the point. And I've missed the point in the early part of my sales career because I just want to say all the value, all the benefits, all the engagement. I want to see everything, load it onto the client, and then go on to actually close the transaction. I actually end up closing less transaction than when I just sit still, listen to that person, ask questions that are relatively relevant, that would allow me. You see, the question I'm asking is not to actually push me towards the point of sale, to allow me to understand the motivation of the person I'm trying to sell to, the goal of the person, the vision of the person, the pinpoint of that person. And then when the person is able to converse in this way, and I understand perfectly what that person is trying to say, then I can prefer my solution. Understanding sometimes might even mean that I realize my product might not be the perfect fit for that person. And then I now come back and say, okay, what product will be the perfect fit for this person? I'm able to prefer that solution. So number one, it is a conversation, not a fight. That is number one principle. Number two is be in sync. Be in sync, never oppose. This could be very funny because when you say be in sync, never oppose, one of the things I'm going to say categorically is never say no. What do you mean never say no? What if the client is asking for what is impossible? The question is, when will a client not ask for that? Client will always ask for the impossible. But the goal is not to oppose them, but to help them to understand whatever it is they are asking and work around it to a situation that is compatible for both of you. Let me use an example. The client asks you, I want to buy a house. Would it come with a car? The natural response is no, sorry, it's not going to come with a car. Well, while that is okay, go straight to the point. But the question we'll not ask is, if it comes with a car, would you want to pay additional because we can provide that as part of premium service? Or what if it comes with a car? What are you looking to do with a car? Why do you need a car? What are you looking for in terms of that investment? And why is a car a very important decision for you? Now, you can see that if you simply say, sorry, no, it doesn't come with a car, or no, we cannot do that, or no, it's not possible, or no, we cannot deliver this service, you actually end the conversation. But when you sit down and say, look, you are not opposing, you want to be in sync, you want to lead that person with the same force they are coming. What if it comes with a car? And I say, yes. Well, if I may ask, why do you need it to come with a car? What would a car do in this investment? What kind of car are you looking at? Would you be willing to pay more for this one? You'll be shocked that somebody say, look, I'm willing to pay more, or rather, I thought a car is supposed to be part of this investment. And what it does, when we are always in sync, trying to understand, trying to lead on from one conversation to the other, the client says this, instead of saying no and they're just pushing, what you're trying to do is, as the client is saying, you want to hold the hand of the client and lead them further along the funnel of conversation. You want to ask, why is it coming? Why is a car that important for you? You'll be shocked that once the client goes on that journey, it can start to explain why that component is important to them, and then you can find a better solution. And the client might even be willing to pay. And you can say, yes, even though we're looking at, we didn't think of putting a car as part of what you're going to get. We can get you a car and then add it to it, but it will cost you a bit more. You'll be shocked that when you provide those kind of solutions, when you lead the client in that kind of dance, it's actually easier, it's less traumatic, and then everybody come away more fulfilled. So at the end of the day, minimize your no's. If possible, eliminate your no. And the client says, oh, you are selling a unit of apartment for, say, 250 million. And the client says, would you want to do, can I buy it for 100? The natural response is, sorry, no, you can't buy it for 100, and that stops the conversation. What you want to do is to ask further question. Is that your budget? Are you looking at this area? You want to look for another location? If I offer you 100, an apartment 100 in this location, would it be a better option? Or to say, look, 100 is a good budget, but would you consider this environment or that environment? Or is it the fact that it's 100 you have for now? What if I spread the payment for you? Will you be able to accommodate more into your budget? You can see how not opposing, not saying no because you think the client is saying what you don't want to hear, how that can lead into more fruitful conversation, and you can actually expatiate on the solution you provide, understand the pain of that person better, and then you become better in the art of managing objection. That is number two. Number three is use facts only to confront fact. A lot of time when salespeople, particularly if they are very desperate to make a sale, immediately to get on the phone, they reel out fact, they reel out that fact, and then if a client says that, they start crushing the numbers for that person. a lot of time people buy from people they trust. Trust is a factor, and trust is not necessarily about the fact that you're a pastor or it's about the impression you make on them. Immediately they engage with you, are they able to trust you in the course of conversation? And one of the trust element, one of the pillars of trust in sales related conversation. Now, when you want to use facts, you are not using it to hammer it on their head. It's only when they say, oh, I heard the rental in this place is just 2%. You can say no because they're giving you a fact based on what they know. You can say no, or you can say the rental is not 2%. The rental on the average is 4% or 5% or 6% or 7%, whatever it is that fact that you are. If they ask you, I heard that the soil in this place is not amenable to building, you can say that we have over 60-something people who have built. We have 20-something soil test report with us here that you can look at. It will give you an insight on the kind of soil that we have. Most objections are not necessarily asking you to start reeling out the facts to hammer on the head of the person that is buying from you. Rather, when people actually raise those objections, you first of all want to understand them for that. When they bring facts, that is the only time you actually bring your figure and you start comparing the figure, trying to say this is the right, this is what we have, this is proven, this is not proven, and then you arrive at a solution. That's number 3. Number 4 is keep yourself free, never be backed into a corner. Number 4, keep yourself free, never be backed into a corner. Now, in sales conversation, backing you into your corner is when you become defensive about your product. No matter what any prospect is saying about your product, you should never be defensive. And this is why, one, sometimes that prospect might know a bit more even about the product than you know. 2, their perspective that you will never see because you are the salesperson pushing that product that your prospect would see. So never be defensive. Rather, what you want to do is to be open. It's a conversation, remember we said at the beginning. So if the client or prospect says this, and instead of going to defend, no, we're not this, we're not that, what you want to do is to listen more, to understand why, to ask why, what, when, how, and to ask them, could you please expatiate a bit? And then sometimes when they say the fact and you realize that what they are saying is probably true, you don't want to also be on the defensive and try to defend what is indefensible. You want to be able to say, oh, I heard this happened in one of your projects. Instead of saying, no, that didn't happen, or it wasn't our fault, you want to say, yes, that happened. Very simple. You want to accept when those facts are real, when what they are saying is correct, to say, yes, it happened. This is what happened, and this is what we learned from it. Instead of saying, no, it didn't happen, or no, it wasn't our fault, or no, we tried our best. No, there's no need for that. Some of the prospects you are going to make probably have more facts than you sometimes. The internet or data media provides that vast resource for people to find out information even before you. So never be backed into a corner. Never be defensive. When they say those things, if they are true and they are facts, you actually bring your own facts. You actually accept it and say, yes, you are correct. And this is what we have learned from the errors that we made in ourselves. So this is what we're doing now to make sure that never repeats itself. Now, what happens when we become defensive is the person on the other side of the conversation loses trust for you, because if you are not vulnerable, if you don't accept and take responsibility for some of the errors that has happened in the course of your service delivery, how can he or she trust you to actually take them to the finish line in this particular transfer? One thing I would say is this: most clients, when they understand that they are genuine mistake, when they understand you are not trying to take them for granted, when they understand that you are making a significant effort to actually make reparations for some of these service gaps that they might have experienced, are forgiving enough to allow you to prove yourself over and over again. So you need not be defensive. So you just have to be open. You need to be able to understand where they are coming from. And then when you take those issues that are raised, you want to say, this is what you have learned, this is what you are doing better, and this is what you will do better. Because essentially, sales conversation is about giving the promise, and then operation is about actually going after that promise to deliver it. So when you are given the promise, you want to be seen as the honest, straightforward, non-defensive person, vulnerable enough to say, yes, we made a mistake in this, we accept and take responsibility for this, and then this is what we're doing better. Those are 4 principles that I will teach us on managing objection. If you want to know more, particularly managing objection before they occur, I'd like you to go look for our video on the MANT framework: money, authority, need, time frame, and trust. You want to actually take those lessons and then combine it with this one. Remember to actually follow our pages across all the social media platforms. I see you next video. Have a great time.